Hey guys, so still in the middle of the corona pandemic, but I figured I'd make a part three to my video on treatments for Crohn's disease. And this today, I'm definitely going to go through the last two, and I guess let's just get into it. So the fifth treatment I want to tell you guys about is Oriental or Chinese medicine. Now, this was kind of random because I never really thought of that, being an option. I mean, I'm Indian, so I was like, okay, we can go with Ayurveda. But if you saw my last video, you'll kind of see why I was like, really isn't the one for me. So I found out about Oriental medicine because my dad's boss actually goes to this person in my neighboring town for acupuncture. And personally, acupuncture always seemed kind of cool to me. If you're one who's scared about needles, it's not the thing for you, by far. But I was like, I was open to it. Maybe try different herbs. Who knows? Like, maybe herbs from outside India might work. I'm too used to Indian herbs. But I gave the guy a visit, and this doctor was very good. I mentioned in my last video that the doctor you have for alternative medicines is very important. You need a doctor who's not just looking at his or her methodology, but also taking into account the labs that have been done, because any good treatment is a mix of Western and Oriental medicine, and I'll talk about that too in this video. So went to this guy for the first consultation, and right off the bat, he started looking at all my charts. That, oh, okay, you're missing your vitamin B is a little bit low. Your folic acid levels are low, and they were in acceptable range, but what he brought up is that with Crohn's, like, you might be okay because they're in reasonable range, but your body's not really getting full use of them, and you might be playing off reserves. Like, for me, I was living off of my iron reserves because I used to be a very active kid, but my iron levels were declining over time. So first off, I was very impressed that he's looking at all my charts. He's making sure that any nutritional or vitamin mineral deficiency I have is being addressed. So that was a big plus. The second thing that I liked was his plan for essentially treating it. He told us the very first time, like, I've had success with Crohn's patients. In fact, he had another patient who was like 24, very nice guy. He even gave me his number. I talked to him about his Crohn's disease, and he said that he was on, a little weaker version of Humira, like another biologic, as you'll see in my first video, and he was going to get off because it just wasn't making him feel good. And he tried this Oriental medicine, and just like that, within like a few weeks, he was basically fine. He was in remission. So I was like, that gave me some, hope that, okay, fine, this might work. So with Oriental medicine, what he outlined was a lot of it's going to be based around herbs, so Oriental herbs in like a pill form, capsule form, some supplements, and some supplements I hadn't heard of. I'll go into that, and acupuncture. So I was like, this is kind of similar to Ayurveda, like opening the energy in your body, and also taking a little more, I guess, physical approach to it. So I was like, okay, let's see how he does it different. So he made a special blend of Oriental herbs, and essentially the goal was to take 7 pills twice a day. Now, 7 pills is a lot to take. If you've ever taken any medicine, swallowing 1 pill is kind of like, I really don't want to do it, but okay. And even if you're fine with 1 pill, 7 pills is a lot. It's hard to think about, right? And of course, you would start with 1. Then once you're okay with 1, then 2, 3, 4, etc., etc. But that's a lot, and it's something to consider. If you're considering this as a treatment, right? So I was like, okay. I didn't really know how they would taste, but I was like, as a capsule, you don't really taste that much. The second thing was the supplements. Now, my doctor was great. He looked through the reports really well. He gave me a liquid vitamin B12 supplement. Quick note, B12 is best absorbed when it's in its liquid form, actually. So any store-bought usual B12 tablet is good, but if you can get a liquid form, it's much better. And it gets especially absorbed underneath your tongue. I like that part because it just happens to be that that area is very good for absorbing B12. I'm not really sure, but it's proven scientifically. Quick note to know. He gave me a vitamin D supplement iron and folic acid. Iron and folic acid should be taken together because folic acid helps absorb iron, and also iron is also should be taken with a little bit of citrus, so a little bit of orange juice, a little bit of lemon, because it helps the body to absorb it faster. Another quick note. And then he also showed me some different supplements I'd never heard of. So the first is immunoglobulin. It's basically not an immune suppressor like a TNF1 agent that Humira, Remicade, those biologics use, but it's slightly more natural in that your body already produces. That it doesn't suppress it, but it kind of tells it to take a chill pill a little bit. And it's basically, it's a small powder. You take it with water sometime in the day, preferably empty stomach. So I did it when I got back from school. This powder tasted really bad. And not that I felt like throwing up, but it tasted kind of animally. Now, as a vegetarian, I don't really eat meat, so obviously I'm not used to that flavor, but it was bovine derived, meaning it's from a cow. If you're someone like me who's vegetarian, that might not be a great option for you because you're not comfortable with it. I personally don't mind as much, but the taste is a little bit weird, and also it's kind of sticky, kind of stuck in your mouth afterwards. You have to drink more water to get it out. A little bit annoying, but it definitely has some positive benefits. Another thing that he suggested was something called trisomal glutamine. It's a bit of an amino acid mix that you might not be getting, or as vegetarian especially, but also that you might not be absorbing enough of even if you're eating a lot. So it's something to supplement. This one tasted kind of nice. It kind of had a citrusy flavor, a little bit kind of like linoleic oil. Like if you've ever had flaxseed oil, it tasted a tiny bit like that. It wasn't too bad. Just have it with food, breakfast and dinner, and it helps with digestion too, and it just adds some vitamins that you're getting. And the last thing was a amino acid powder that you take first thing in the morning. Kind of like the last one, same deal, but it was interesting because these are things I never really thought of taking because you think of vitamin D, vitamin C, but you never really think about amino acids you're missing. So that was something that I felt was good in his treatment. So those were some of the stuff he gave, all pretty good. And the last thing was acupuncture. Now, having never done acupuncture before, I didn't really know what to expect. I thought the needles were hurt, and then you just kind of do it for a few minutes and then come out of it. But that's actually not how it is. So the needles are pretty small. Say about the needle themselves are this big, but the part that goes in your body is this big. It's very small. And the first time you do it, it does hurt a tiny bit, just for a second when he puts the needle in, because those are all pressure points, and he's choosing specific pressure points that are being affected and that he wants to essentially open up to help your disease, for me, Crohn's, obviously. So a few of them in my stomach, in my stomach area, there wasn't any blood, first of all. There's no blood whatsoever. Just very shallow, but it's a weird sensation. Some of my feet, one or two in my hands around this area, and one right here to help with, kind of calm you down. And once you put all them in, I'd say about 15 to 20 needles. You're lying on his table, kind of in a doctor's office you lie down in the thing, but this one kind of the back comes up so you can kind of rest like this. And he's all right, I'll see you in 20 minutes, and then kind of close the lights so they were just very dim, basically dark, but you can see a little bit. And he put on some delta wave music, which is supposed to help you relax, and just left me. So the first time I did 25 minutes alone in lying down. You can't move because obviously the needles are there and they kind of hurts if you move a little bit. It was an interesting experience. I mean, you're essentially left to your own devices about what to do, what you're thinking. You can think of anything really. I started watching I just remembered a movie I watched and I was like, oh, that's a good scene, I'll just think of that. But after a while, once you start losing track of time, you start I feel like it really brings on, it's kind of like meditation, but induced meditation, I suppose, because you're forced to do it because you can't really do anything else. So I thought it was a good way of relaxing your body. After a while, you can kind of you know the pattern of the music. You're like, oh, okay, it's gone through a full cycle. Okay, I'll start. So you kind of get comfortable in it, and afterwards you feel light. I mean, when you get a massage, you feel like the blood's flowing. That your muscles feel really nice, and you feel like you're ready to go. You feel energized. Versus with acupuncture, you feel that your body's a lot lighter. Not that your muscles are like there's a lot of blood flowing, but you're kind of calm. Like the state of mind you're in is very like you're focused. You don't have as many external thoughts because by the end of your session, you're in the zone. You're just like, I'm here, like I'm in the present. It sounds very abstract, and honestly, I didn't really know like what that was until I actually did it. But it was definitely a good feeling, and the more I did it, I'm supposed to go for like my 5th session tomorrow. It becomes very relaxing, and the 25 minutes goes by pretty fast because you calm down really well. In fact, in the last one, I almost start to like fall asleep and just kind of close my eyes. I'm like, okay, I'm chilling right now. So that's a good thing I think with Oriental medicine is that it really addresses the physical part of your body as well. And if you feel good, you feel like it's working. So it gives you a good kind of like that faith-based aspect I was talking about in my last video with Ayurveda. It kind of it's the same thing, but you physically feel that you're feeling better. Right now, this is what I'm on. I'm basically taking those Chinese medicines, 7 pills twice a day, and doing a little bit of acupuncture. And I think that's having a pretty good effect. I mean, I'm of course I'm a little bit fatigued because with Crohn's disease, that's a given. But my digestion's much better. My stools are more consistent. I'm not hurting, obviously, my stomach a lot. I mean, that'd be a sign it wasn't working. But I'm feeling like I'm in a decently good place, and hopefully over time this can actually work. And ideally, like my goal is that if this works well enough, I won't have to go on Humira because, as I mentioned in my first video, those can have some side effects. And, these are herbs. They're not really going to have any side effects on you. I mean, besides they might be a little bit bitter. Like, what else is there that can go wrong? So I think that this is something that really works, and hopefully it works for other people too, because I don't think many people are aware that, you can use Oriental medicine to treat Crohn's. I mean, you might think of it, just some Oriental teas, like, some jasmine tea. That can't really help me, but it's really a whole, like a plethora of things that you can do with Oriental medicine to really help you. And I think that is something that's really working for me, and it's definitely something to consider. Only thing I will suggest is that, again, you need to make sure you have a good doctor. Definitely, you don't want a doctor who will see you for like 20 minutes, say, okay, yeah, you have Crohn's, we'll do some acupuncture, take some supplements, take this herb, whatever. Like my doctor looked through the files with me. It was like a 45, 50-minute consultation. I mean, that most doctors just look at your charts and like, all right, you have Crohn's. He looked at them, figure out what will work for you, what's practical. One thing I did forget to mention, that this doctor, this isn't necessarily with Oriental medicine, I'll talk about in another video, don't worry about it. Just something about food allergies and food stuff. I'll talk about it in another video. But it was overall very good, definitely something I would suggest to anyone, at least just to take a look at. Now, the last treatment option, that's not really an entire treatment, it's more something that, just to think about or maybe use in addition, is essential oils. Now, essential oils get a pretty bad rap due to like anti-vaxxers and the fact that, my essential oils will protect against vaccines. This has nothing to do with that. In fact, if you're not vaccinated, please get vaccinated, especially at this time with Corona going around. I mean, well, not now, but when this all ends. But when I'm talking about essential oils, I mean oils that are specifically used for your digestion and healing, right? So by that, I mean frankincense. Frankincense is good for healing scar tissue. It's good for acne as well. And, just something that I put at night, 2 drops of frankincense on my stomach. Now, do you know that these oils are working? You don't really know. I mean, you're taking a bunch of other stuff. That's the big, caveat that comes with all these alternative medicines. But it can't do you any harm to try it. Peppermint for digestion. Making sure, that, peppermint definitely helps me release gas because, the last thing you want is gas in your intestines when they're already inflamed. You're forcing them to stretch. Excuse me. As I say that, I burp. But small stuff like that, even a little bit of ginger. I mean, ginger is great for absorption. Any doctor can tell you that ginger is great for digestion, right? So a little bit of ginger oil on your stomach too, that's great. That's why I kind of said you can't treat Crohn's with essential oils, but you can kind of help the process in a different way because, oils go straight into your bloodstream. They get absorbed into the skin. A lot of these other medicines have to go in your bloodstream. They take a little bit of time to work, but, an oil, you'll feel that, okay, yeah, it's in my bloodstream. So I'm not suggesting at all, I want to be clear, this is not a way to treat Crohn's disease, but it is a way to maybe induce some healing, and at the best you're getting, some good chemicals, essentially, that natural treatment, natural chemicals that nature's producing that could help you. So that wraps up my video on some alternative therapies. If you guys have any questions or you want me to go into more stuff, just leave a comment and I'll try to address any questions you guys have, right? Thanks for watching.